Obviously, you're most well known for being a part of the tag team with Jim Brunzell, the Killer Bees. How did you guys decide to come together and become the Killer Bees? And how did that formation happen?
Well, when I left in 1984, right before WrestleMania 1, I left to come back to Florida to be the Florida Heavyweight Champion. And Vince McMahon Sr. wanted me to come back and work for the Intercontinental Championship. Well, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, was there, obviously, with a great crew, and Vince was cherry-picking all the territories, getting all the talent. And I got a call from him, and he said, Brian, listen, Vince wants to talk to you. I gave him an idea because he's creating a tag team division that's going to be second to nothing you've ever seen before. And, he wants to put you with Jim Brunzell. That was my suggestion, and he liked it. And I don't know if you know Jim Brunzell. And I said, well, I really don't. I heard about him in the magazines and stuff. But lo and behold, I finally said, okay. I wound up going to New York, gave my notice in Florida, went to New York, met Jimmy in Brantford, Ontario, and we didn't know what we were going to be. We're going to be a tag team, and what a tag team division it was back then. And George asked us, he said, listen, you guys are on, and it was less than an hour, and you got to come up with a name, a catchy name. So Jimmy and I are sitting there, and George Scott says, I'll be back in just a little bit. Whatever you guys come up with, let me know, and I'll take it to Vince and see what he says. And so that's a pretty daunting task to think about a name in, that short of time. So I'm thinking, and Lanny Poffos or George the Animal Steele, Macho Man, all the guys, everybody's around in this locker room, and I'm going, Blair Brunzell. And all of a sudden in my head popped up the 82 undefeated Dolphins that had that linebacker crew, Bonicani and Baumgartner. They all began with a B, so they called them the Killer Bees. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I said, well, what about the Killer Bees? And Jimmy goes, Killer Bees, I love that. And I said, yeah, I like that too, Jimmy. And the Killer Bees, Blair Brunzell. So George Scott hadn't even left the room yet. And so to go, because he's running all these things back and forth to Vince. And we asked, hey, George, we think we have something. And he comes back to us and he says, what is it? I said, how about the Killer Bees? He goes, the Killer Bees. I like that. So he goes, just a minute. Let me go run and let me tell Vince. I'll be right back. Anyway, he comes back. He goes, well, Vince loved it. You guys are now the Killer Bees. And Lanny Poffo goes, yeah. And he reaches into this giant hockey bag where he kept, I don't know, he must have had 30 different outfits in there. And he pulls out a pair of bee trunks.
No way.
Yes. He pulls out, he actually happens to have two pairs of these bee trunks. And so Jimmy and I said, hey, Liebster, can we buy those trunks from you? And I don't remember if we paid for them or what, or if he gave them to us or whatever, that we just used them for the night. But that was how the Killer Bees were born.
He was a genius, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. Yes, he still is.
Oh, my God.